I have a question.
Yes.
Do you know why we make videos?
Fame and fortune.
For people to watch them. You know
right.
how you watch our videos?
I do.
And see the latest videos that come out?
I am a subscriber.
Well, you have to subscribe. You cut me to the point.
Oh.
So if you, not him, if you subscribe to our channel, you see our latest videos. So click the bell, click the button, just do it. All right, Mr. Waller. Good to see you today.
Good to see you.
We are.
I feel I'm in capable hands, Chester.
I hope you feel that way. We are in a 2016 Porsche 911 GT3 RS. And for me, this is a big day. This is not only our first kind of driving review, but this is an important car for me, this exact car, because the second time I was ever in the museum was probably spring of 2016.
Right.
And this car was just becoming popular. It had just come out pretty recently.
Yeah.
And I saw it in person, and it made such an impression.
This actual car?
This actual car on the floor of the museum.
Yeah.
My friend Larson and I stopped by the museum one afternoon, and coming off of the 997 to see this in person, the wing was massive.
Right.
The scoops are massive.
Yeah.
325 section rear tires, massive.
Yeah.
Everything about it seemed to have been blown out of proportion from the last generation of RS.
Well, I think it was. That's exactly, you just described that leap, that jump.
Major leap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there was huge uproar when this car came out. There was no stick shift option.
Yeah.
I think the public was a bit disappointed in Porsche, but Porsche had its, mentality about where this car was going. It was meant to be a track tool, not a toy.
And listen, I think they were proved right.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a great success on the track.
Yep.
And people do drive them on the road.
Yep.
Having stepped from a McLaren into this, I can feel it's a way different experience.
How is it different?
I think the McLaren, which is the MP412C,
yep.
And it's not just my British biasness, I promise you.
I agree. I do agree with. We talked about this.
Okay. So. We'll leave that there. I think the McLaren is far more usable on the road. I've got to be honest. It's a little bit softer.
Yep.
This has got a harsher ride.
Yep.
And yet we are in the soft mode, right? We're
in comfort mode.
We're comfort mode.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest initial difference. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
The seats are great. The seats are actually quite supportive.
These seats.
Yeah.
These seats are. I love the comfort seats.
Really
a lot of people don't like comfort seats simply because the buckets exist.
Yeah.
But if you are planning to drive a car like this on the road, you need some.
You've got to be a little bit more practical.
Yeah.
Now, shall we address the elephant in the room? Do you know what the elephant in the room is?
I don't, but let's talk.
It's my love-hate affair with Porsche.
Okay.
Now, and I'm readily admitting that I don't have huge Porsche experience. So this is a big day for me too, because certainly this is my first time in a hot Porsche.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this bit. I like your driving style.
Yep.
Now we're tootling around on back roads.
Yep.
What are we doing? Well, we're obeying the speed limit, obviously.
Yep.
It feels quite nice.
It's very nice.
I've got to say, the sound is quite nice.
Yep.
But it is that harsher experience.
It's definitely harsher, and
not only in the road, the feel of the road.
Yep.
The senses.
Yep.
The sound.
Yep. Yep.
I'm trying not to make those comparisons and just try to think about what this car is doing to me right now.
Right. And I'll agree with you to an extent about your Porsche comments in general. I think social media is underwater with photos of Porsches. Everyone wants a Porsche. They're such a popular brand now. I think that there's just a serious amount of attention going towards, especially these RS cars with their looks and their performance. Yeah. you know, but then you drive one and it's like, oh my lord.
There's so many options with Porsche.
There's
now.
so many options.
How many cars? How many different models have they got on the road now?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of them, and that's kind of what I was going to get into next. In that this car really shouldn't feel like a 12C because a turbo and a Turbo S exists.
Absolutely.
And the suspension is, you know, there's much more travel. There's much more suppleness in those cars.
Yeah.
They can do the cross country thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
This, everything. You feel everything.
You want to take this on the track.
Yep. You feel, you know, I don't know if you can see the tar snakes on the ground in front of us, maybe with the cameras, but you're feeling those, you know, through your fingers. All these little bumps you're feeling.
Which is a good thing.
Yep.
Because there's nothing worse than a car that gives you no feedback whatsoever.
Yep.
And it's where you want to be on that scale of how much I want to appreciate not only the road, and you know, we haven't got great roads in Rhode Island, sadly.
Yeah.
But it's how much of that you want to dial into your driving experience.
Right.
And that's what it's all about. It's the relationship between the car and the driver and the passenger and all of those little things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And if you're doing something like this in an RS car at speed limit speeds or slightly above,
of course,
this is a mega tool. Like, this is way more than you'd ever need.
The overkill is crazy, and so it's an unfair drive that we're giving it. Really,
right.
We want to be on the highway. We want to be out on the track.
Yeah.
Let's talk about its looks. What does it look? What does it say to you when you saw it for the first time in the museum?
It's everything about it was just, the scale of the RS had been opened up.
Yeah.
The wing's bigger, like I mentioned. You've got scoops in the side.
Yeah.
The front end is so low to the ground.
Yeah.
You know, this car doesn't have buckets, but this was the first generation with those new buckets. Crazy look inside.
Yeah.
You know, so many different specification options. The whole interior, this is orange, which I thought was cool. You know, when I saw this car 8 years ago.
Amazing.
The car came out 8 years ago.
It still stands up.
And it's one of those cars, yeah, exactly. If you showed this to someone who's not a major car enthusiast, you could easily fool them into saying it's a brand new car.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't really struggle with that. Now, with the 992 out, you look at them next to each other, and this one looks dated somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And Porsche finds a way to do that. You know, every
manufacturer has to dial in a little bit of it's going out of date, and I must have the next one.
Yep. But driving it, everything is so precise. I mean, you see these inputs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just, everything's very light at speeds like this.
Is it speed aware? Does the steering?
It seems to be much heavier when you're at higher speeds and really loading up the car. I mean, it does give you a good sense of the weight. It's not a light car per se, but it is, compared to cars in its class, a pretty light car.
Yeah.
However, when you do load it up, I have driven this car at higher speeds. If you do load the weight up on any corner, you do feel it in the steering, which is very nice. This was also the first GT3 generation with four-wheel steering. You do really feel that.
Do you? Now you feel that because there is like 5 degrees of movement in the rear, I think.
Yeah, and you know, I did get the great opportunity to drive this on the track in instances where, let's say, you're braking hard into a tight turn, downshift hard on the brakes. You come off the brakes and you realize you can trim that line.
It'll take care.
It allows you to do that at your speed. You don't have to slow down. You can even increase speed and increase your steering input, and the car will still hold that line without oversteering, understeering. It just stays very flat.
I mean, that's so intelligent.
Yeah.
And I think it's true that they turn, depending on your speed, I think below 50, they turn, I can't remember, this is backwards, one way, and over 50 they turn the other. That 5 degree of movement, just to take care of the higher speeds.
Yeah, and we're just here driving. We're not the engineers. But essentially, at low speeds, the whole point is at low speeds, it makes it feel like a short wheelbase car.
There you go.
At higher speeds, it makes it feel much more balanced and much more, like a longer wheelbase car. And I can't comment on highway speeds. I can't say I've driven it that fast. But around here,
which is what, 65 on a highway?
65 on a highway and 25 around here.
Exactly.
It does that very well. But even moving it around car storage, if you need to get it, if you need to turn it and get it through a tight space, it turns almost on a center axis.
Yeah.
Which is really amazing.
Yeah.
You know, but these cars have become so popular, you know, and there is a reason for it. I mean, an RS car is not something everybody has.
Yeah.
But, you know, Porsche has done a great job of magnifying all those feelings so that people can talk about them, and then other people say, well, it must be that good.
Well, I think it has been a success. They've sold 3,000, I think. There are 3,000 on the road.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty big number for the sort of car that it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, this was coming off the tail of the 918,
Sure.
which was clearly a halo car, a poster car, $1 million car.
Sure.
And, you know, since then, I think the GT3 has really found its own home and become its own poster car.
Yeah.
You know, throughout the automotive spectrum. It's really not just, you know, a big time 911. It's almost in its own world now from 911s.
Is that the 911 development? I think is one of the most fascinating stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I could make a movie.
Yeah.
I think it would be a fascinating for me.
Yeah.
We'd sell one copy. But that whole transition from the first 911s in the early 60s, all the way through to today. Yes, you can see they're all of the same family. They have the family trait. They have the basically the design, but they've doubled in size.
Yeah, it's amazing. Have you seen that photo where they compared the tires on the back of this to the original tires?
Absolutely.
It's like, how did we get here?
I know.
How did we get here?
But I get it.
Yeah, things, and Porsche, seriously, is ahead of the times.
Yeah.
So this, even today, feels like a modern car.
Yeah.
You know, when companies are moving away from, you know, naturally aspirated engines. But I think one main, you know, it's funny you say that 12C is more usable with 600 horsepower.
600 horsepower, twin turbo.
It accelerates like crazy. Look at this turning radius. We're back in the lane. That was amazing.
Absolutely sense. I mean, that would have turned in the width of the road.
Oh yeah.
You don't even need to go to a junction.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. You can sense it.
You can feel it right here. It turns
Absolutely.
right. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And you know what's interesting about this is it's less usable. You think it's got 100 less horsepower.
Yeah.
It's stiffer, but there is more room. You have you have a back seat. You have a front trunk.
Yeah. I'm always interested in where a car comes from, its nationality.
Yep.
Obviously German.
Yep.
McLaren British.
Yep.
Ferrari Italian.
Yep.
I wonder whether there is something Germanic in the makeup of this car.
Yep.
Whether there is some national traits. This does drive extremely nicely.
It's very nice. And again, this is a, you know, I'm a big Honda fan. I talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
And Hondas are so fun because they're momentum cars, and you have to get to the top of the rev range to get into the next gear, you know, in the power band. This is this is Superman's momentum car.
Yeah.
You know, you have to use all the power. It's 500 horsepower, but it's all at the top.
Where does it come alive on the rev scale?
Oh, I think probably above 5.
Yeah.
This one revs to almost 9.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And you know, you can
flat 6.
Yep, 4 liter, and
Yeah.
you always know how fast you're going. That's the thing about the McLaren is you start gaining speed so quickly it gets out of hand.
Sure.
That wasn't even 5K.
I think it feels much more like a race car.
It's punchier.
It is punchier.
Yeah.
Which is what you want. That's what you're paying those dollars for.
Yep, it absolutely is what you want. You can go, you know, back and forth, pros and cons all day.
Sure.
For me, this is the recipe I'm taking.
Yeah.
There's so much feel. To me, I don't think it would wear me out. If you had the buckets, I think it might be over the top daily driver mode. I hate to say it, but you know, these seats do wonders.
Doesn't it sum up people's personality?
Yeah.
A car is its owner.
It really is.
Or the owner is the car.
Yeah, it really is.
I know Sean, he's in love with the vintage 3-litre Bentley.
Oh, yeah. That's like so him now.
It is so him.
Yeah.
And Antonio, well, he's wavering. I think he's looking to change his nationality from Italian to British because he loves the McLaren so much.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Yep.
You drive a BMW.
Yep.
and lo and behold,
Yep.
you're in love with the Porsche.
Yep.
So I think we've got those three nationalities pretty pinned down.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's what they say about BMW owners. When you finally grow up and put real pants on, you're owning a Porsche.
Big boy pants.
Big boy pants.
Now let's see this turn again.
I mean, that's nothing. That's nothing.
Really, it's almost like the rear end is drifting.
Yeah.
And boy, does it stick to the road. There's no sense of danger.
No, never. That's what's really scary about these is you get going really fast. The McLaren, I feel like that car could get really hairy.
I think you're probably right.
That car, you could blow the tires off of that car.
Yeah.
Anytime you leave a stoplight.
Yeah.
Where this thing, you never feel concerned about anything.
No, because it's handling it all.
It handles it all, and then above 100,
The
that's
brain
when the
is
wing
kicking in.
Yeah, and the wing starts to work above 100, and it
Yeah.
really never feels like you're in sketchy territory.
Now the McLaren has an active wing.
Yep.
Does this have an active wing?
There's no active aerodynamics on this car.
So it's just there and it's just doing its job. It's getting on with things. Don't you worry about that. I'm here.
Yep.
I'm doing it.
And it is the car interestingly has a lower top speed than the GT3 below it because of that wing.
Right.
Solely because of that wing.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. But seriously, what a car. It's 8 years old. Like, where are we going?
Amazing.
I mean,
Why do you need to develop it?
I've walked in. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I walked in the museum that day and I saw the then new 458 Speziale, which was a 2015, and this, which is 2016, and I literally was kind of in awe. Like, where do we go from here?
I know.
Like, how does it get better than this?
Yeah.
And they're still, I mean, look at Ferrari. They're like 2 generations on from the 458 now.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Well, Ferrari have a freer hand, of course, with overall design. I mean, with this, you've got to carry on the family tradition.
Right. Absolutely. Shall we switch?
Sure.
Let's do it. Well, it's already much different in the passenger seat.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And you must immediately feel a difference from the 12C.
Yeah. Steering is less information.
Here.
I'm afraid so.
Interesting.
It feels slightly disconnected.
Okay.
I hope it's not.
I hope it's...
Maybe it's just, there's a lot of play, whereas the McLaren, it was so direct.
Yep.
That's an interesting one.
I believe the McLaren is fully electric steering, and this is hydraulic with power assist.
Maybe that's what we're on. Yeah.
I do think, personally, the McLaren has less feel, but is more direct. This probably has more feel and is likely, by design, less direct. Do you think the noise is too much? Now, you're not driving, you were just at 4,500 revs. You're not up there all the time.
Exactly. I think after a while, it probably could get tiring.
Yeah.
On highway, I think you would kind of want to turn it down.
There are, it does have short gears for the highway.
The binocular.
Yep. Do you want to try it off?
So this is quiet.
This is loud mode.
Oh, we're in loud mode now.
Yeah.
Let's turn it on.
Yeah, let's try it.
Oh yeah, you can hear it.
Yeah, there's a change.
Yeah,
there's definitely a valve close, but there's definitely, if you can't hear it, there's still noise in the cabin, for sure.
But it's not quite as invasive.
No, it's definitely not.
I think after a while on loud, I think you would go deaf.
You just might.
You just might.
And for some people, that's something they're willing to trade for.
I know.
It's crazy.
And I might be that person.
And a lot of people, truly do modify these cars with headers and X-pipes and overpipes and all this stuff.
No, you don't want to play with it.
It gets very loud.
The factory did something for a reason.
Yep.
I'm a big believer in not messing about too much. You get what you're given, and I'm quite happy with that. Probably better people with bigger brains.
I would think so. I would hope so.
You would hope so.
I would hope so. Unless some intern was in charge of this project, which would leave me hard to believe.
I mean, God bless the intern if they did.
Yeah, right.
There is quite a lot of transmission noise, but that's very racy. That's a race car.
It is. It's you know, there's sound deadening removed and you know, all that stuff.
And
there's no rear seat either. I mean, I think you want that.
No, I've never understood a rear seat in the 911.
Yeah. Well, it's for insurance. That's all it is.
Is that right?
That's the only reason, is because when there's 4 seats in a vehicle, at least leading up to modern day, insurance rates were lower than it was if it was a true 2-door, 2-seater coupe.
You know how you learn something new every day?
Yeah. I'm glad I could teach you something today.
Ben, honestly, I had no clue that was the case.
Good. Well, that's because you've never liked Porsches.
I didn't say that. It's not that I don't like Porsches.
I know.
It's slightly too obvious for me.
Yeah, they're very obvious.
And
you know,
that could be my failing.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you lived in Carmel. You worked out, you know, at Pebble Beach, and you go to Car Week. Everyone has a 911.
Yeah.
It's really amazing how many high-profile 911s you see, you know, at an event like that.
Yeah.
You know, when Lotuses exist,
Yeah.
Ferraris exist, and all these other cars exist, everyone still gravitates to a car with an engine in the wrong place.
In the wrong place? Well, I'm not going to say that. It's very interesting you bring up driving around Carmel, and especially during Car Week, Pebble Beach Week. It's so much. You see every car that you would dream of owning.
Yep, easy.
And I remember living there, and I had a few cars.
Yep.
And one of the most interesting experiences I had was parking on Ocean Avenue in Carmel. And this is during Car Week, so there's everything parked and driving and people taking pictures, etc., etc. I had a 1966 Series 3, wait for it, or Mark 3, Austin Healey Sprite.
Oh, really?
Original black plate car.
Nice.
Original paint.
Nice.
And it got more attention than anything on Ocean Avenue
amazing.
During Pebble Beach
It's
Week.
amazing. It
was the funniest thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
$600, $6,000, I can't remember what I paid for it. $3,000, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And it was the most fun.
Yeah.
It really was.
That's really cool. And people there, they appreciate taste.
Yes.
Out at Car Week, and you can see a million of these, and it becomes kind of bland. Let these guys go by you.
When was the last time you saw a Mark III Sprite, Austin Healey Sprite? I'm growing into this.
You're going into it.
I'm growing into it.
Well, it's easy to get comfortable quickly because there is so much confidence in the driving experience.
There is.
That McLaren scares the shit out of
the Jesus out of it.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is the paddle shift is much nicer.
Yeah.
The gearbox is much nicer on this.
Yep.
It's immediate, whereas there's a bit of lag on the McLaren.
Put some speed into this downhill right-hander.
Oh, it just sticks.
Just sticks. That's a great turn to feel out that car.
Yeah.
It's really good. And where you get in trouble with this is when you do get comfortable and you're at higher speeds and you start to try to do things very quickly, that's when it gets hairy, because that momentum can keep up for only so long before it does turn into a true.
How forgiving is it?
Well, you know, you look at
you can make a fatal mistake.
Well, let me put it this way: the GT3 RS is essentially the same setup in dumb terms, with 200 more horsepower.
Yeah.
So when you get into a space where you say, "Oh shit, I need to recover," this doesn't always have the torque to get you out of a hole.
Yeah.
This has 500 horsepower, but only about doesn't have 400 foot-pounds of torque. It's 325-ish.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you say, "Oh shit, I'm oversteering," I need to get into the throttle and correct my mistake, you may not have all the guts to do it.
Yeah.
If you're not in the right gear, if you're not at the right speed, if you don't have the right angle, where the GT2 RS, you basically just add throttle and it corrects.
Yeah.
So, but
this is a lot of fun.
If you find that line of grip and where the limit is, and you can live there all day, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, I think. But I'm glad
this actually gives a lot of confidence.
A lot of confidence. Yeah. You could really get moving at a high rate of speed with this.
whilst obeying the speed limit.
Well, being speed limit. Well, that was fun.
I tell you, this is an interesting day for me, and I'm trying to process all of I've picked up.
Yeah.
Vintage Bentley. I love Bentleys.
Yep.
You know, that's a whole different thing. We're not going to compare the Bentley with the.
Yeah.
The McLaren to this.
Yeah.
McLaren's comfortable. Very usable.
Very fast.
Very fast. Great acceleration.
Yeah.
And then you leap in this.
Yeah.
You have better all-round visibility.
Yep.
You've got the option of hair-raising power and tractability.
Yeah.
And usability. I gotta say, I think I'm going to go with the Porsche.
Wow. Well, I don't blame you at all. I think that would be my choice all around as well, to drive, to own, to track.
But it's a problem for me because I
know. Well, for you, it's a problem. I'm completely
I'm not
unbiased.
a Porsche guy.
My answer should be Corvette by birth, but
I think
it's a great car, and
it's a fabulous car.
And the amount of the level of driving you can pull out of it makes you feel like a superhero compared to the McLaren. To me,
that's right.
I think you get a little scared and say, where does it stop?
It
you feel this
you.
quickly, yeah.
It flatters you.
Yeah.
Whereas the McLaren, it just tolerates you.
Yeah.
This flatters you. You can be a Grand Prix driver, any track in the world, and you're driving. You're in first, or second, or third place.
Yep.
Dear Lord, the gearbox. I've got to say, the biggest revelation.
Love the gearbox.
I love.
You talked about that a
the
couple
gearbox
times.
on the paddles.
Yeah.
It's direct. It's straight in. It's not messing about. You want this gear? Here, you got it.
Yep.
The McLaren was. You want this? All right. Wait. All right. Here it is.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, my word.
Yeah.
This car has blown me away today. I absolutely love it.
I'm so glad.
Thank you very much.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad to share that experience with you.
I know.
Maybe we'll do it again.
It's a big thing. It's a big day.
Good.
I may have to go for a lie down.
Yeah, you need an Advil, I think.
I think I need an Advil or a sausage roll.
A sausage roll in a McLaren.